funding means same day because ink is wet. Dry funding after 3 days because wet, obviously ink is going to be dry in 3 days. That is wet funding and dry funding. Now, before why this happens, dry funding, wet funding, before understanding that, I wanted to share with you different things. Let's cover that first. Okay. I told you there are two type of rules and regulations, right? One is federal and other is state. Make sense? Federal means throughout the US that rule will be followed. State means to that particular state, whoever the state made any rules or regulations. Right? Remember or forgot? याद है ना सबको?
Yes.
Right. Very good. इसको याद रखना, okay? Because this we are going to implement here in this. The number second is when I say property, right? Let's say this is the property where I used to live, right? I used to live with family, right? This is the property which is almost 100 miles away from the residence. I used to go there on vacations. This happens, right? Let's say sometimes I'm currently living in Chandigarh and I have another house that is in Shimla, right? Which is almost 100 miles away or 60 miles away from Chandigarh, right? Since I used to work here, my children are going to school only in Chandigarh. So obviously I used to live here with my family. This is the only home that has been, but what was happening, I used to go to Shimla many times, almost every third month. Whenever any guest is coming, I used to give them a visit to Shimla. I take them to Shimla. Sometimes I wanted some vacation, I go to Shimla and used to live there week or 2 weeks sometimes. Go with family to Shimla. So almost it's like 3 to 4 months we used to live in Shimla. So I thought that every time go to the hotels and live there. Instead of that, let's buy a home there, right? But we are not living here. There is one home just in the next block or to my this home where I'm currently living. I found this property is actually good, right? And found an opportunity, so I buy it, and we'll see what can I do. So this property, how do we call them? This property where I'm living with my family, that is called primary home. This home where I go on vacation, we used to call it second home or secondary residence, right? Or vacation home. And this which I bought very near to where I'm currently living, I found this property is good, found it's being sold on very low price, so I bought it, that I will rent it out. So this property is being called as investment property. So now are we clear with all these type of the home where I'm gonna used to live, that we used to call primary home, which was property bought only for a vacation purpose, where I'm going to live less than 6 months, but I'm not going to rent it out, right? I will only go there and live. My families go and live there, and my relatives, my friends, they can go and live there because that is a vacation home. So it is called secondary residence. The third is investment property for the income purpose. Both these properties are also called owner occupied. right? Owner occupied, OO. OO means owner occupied, oblique O, bio. Owner occupied, because both properties are occupied by owner. Owner is living there. But this property we cannot call owner occupied. This is for investment purpose. So it is called investment property, rental property, income property, but not primary, not secondary home. Is it clear what are owner occupied properties and what is in investment property? Right. So three type of property. One is primary, secondary, and investment. These are the three different type of properties, or we can say occupancy. Three different type of occupancy. We can occupy a property for three different reasons. One for primary residence, for secondary residence, or for investment property, for investment purpose. These are the three different occupancy purpose, right? Very good. Now let's come back to the dry funding and wet funding. So there is a rule in US, right, that what I told, that if once the loan is closed, means note is signed. Note signed means borrower made the promise that now I'm good, I'm satisfied with all the terms and conditions, so I sign here, I will pay back accordingly. Means loan is closed, deal is done. Now after, sometimes it happens, right? You must have heard that until we make a promise, we feel positive that everything is good. As soon as we sign the document, you know, we realize, oh my God, this was a mistake. Sometimes our family, right, they give us a different negative feedback that you did a mistake. Somebody, friends or anyone, they will let us know that, oh, this was not good. Until we didn't sign the document, nobody is going to tell anything. As soon as we close the deal, we might get realized because of any different reason that this deal is not good actually. But what I can do, I have already signed the document, so money will get disbursed. I cannot cancel this loan. This happens many times, right? Until we sign the document, until we make the promise, everything remains positive. But as soon as we make the promise, we sign the document, we realize that this deal might not be good for, right, for the borrower, whoever taking the loan. So, according to the US government, when I say US government, not the state government, federal government, okay? Federal government means US government. So according to US government, whenever someone, remember now, you need to be very careful, right, to understand this. Whenever any borrower is buying, right, not buying, sorry. Whenever any borrower is taking a loan on the existing property, loan on the existing property. Now, whenever we say loan on the existing property, what do we call it?
Refinance.
Refinance, right? So one is purchase, another is refinance. Now, what is purchase? Means we are going and purchasing something which does not belong to us. We are going to pay for it and going to purchase and going to make it our property, right? That is a purchase, new loan basically, any new loan or a new property, where we can say new property. But refinance means when we are not going to purchase new, a property which already exists in my name. I don't want to buy anything, but I want to put this. I'm going for 100,000 loan from bank. Bank is telling what is security. I'm telling, okay, put this property as my security. on the mortgage document on the deed of trust. Use this property. I'm not going to buy any new property, but let's take the loan against this property. Use this property as a mortgage. Use this property, right, as a mortgage, as a security against this loan. Put a lien on this property, means put a loan on this property for 100,000. That is refinance. That is called refinance. Now there is a possibility sometimes that on this property which already exists on my name, I have already a loan. This property value is 200,000. I already financed this. When I purchased this property, I financed means I took a loan, and that is almost 100,000 that time, right? 100,000 is a balance that I need to pay to Westage Citibank. Right now, I go to bank and I wanted to ask, okay, I need to take a 50,000 loan. Bank is asking, okay, so what is your security? Right? If I will go for a personal loan, it is going to be very high. It is going to be very costly, right? It could be 90, 20, 22, 25% interest rate, which is not a very good deal, right? So I might say to the bank that, okay, I want to take a loan against my property because that is going to be at 7.5% max at the current situation, right? 7.5%. Instead of paying 20%, it is much better go for 7.5%. Then bank is going to say, but this property is already financed. Is already financed. Now I'm saying, okay, no worries. I will refinance it. Right? So means I will pay this. I will pay off this existing amount and will take the new one. Now you might be wondering 100,000. If I have 100,000 to pay off, then why I'm going for a loan, paying 100,000 and getting 50,000? That is now it is going to happen. What going to happen? This property value is 200,000. So I will apply now $150,000 new loan amount against this property. Right? What will happen? Out of this 150, 100,000 amount will be paid by the bank, not by me. Bank is not, or lender is not going to give this 100,000 to me, but this 100,000 will be paid. Maybe this new loan is going with US bank. So I applied 150,000 with US bank. Now US bank is going to pay 100,000 balance to this Citibank, and it will be cleared. Right? Remaining 50,000 will be paid to me as a new loan, right? To me, to the borrower. That was what my requirement was. Now the new mortgage document that will be signed, because previous mortgage document when signed with 100,000, that is now null and void because they got their money, that will be closed. But new mortgage, new deed will be made with 150,000 against the US bank, against the borrower with the US bank. All the new documentation that is going to show now the 150,000 document, right? 150,000 loan amount against this property, right? With the beneficiary who is going to be US bank. That is what called the refinance. Why? The term itself telling refinance. You finance, okay, fine, but you can refinance if you have the equity. We are going to discuss more about this later, but this is how it is. The term itself telling refinance means something which already exists in your name. You can refinance it. Clear? Finance and refinance is fine. Any question related to loan purpose, related to property occupancy types?
So, usually refinance, it not necessarily for the money being used for construction or any renovation or anything. It can be anything else also, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, because usually mortgage loan, when we say it is either for buying or constructing,
No,
but
no,
when
no.
we refinance, the
Construction,
purpose
see,
changes.
that is a different loan. I'm telling about the loan purpose.
Okay.
Loan purpose means when I go to bank and I tell them I need a loan. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously the first question is going to be the what is the purpose of your loan? Why do you want to take a loan? I
Okay.
want to purchase a property. So purchase purpose. I
Mm-hmm.
want to refinance it. Now there could be different cash out, no cash out, or home improvement or renovation. So there could be different. The third purpose is the construction, that I want to construct a property. Then when I go for a construction loan, that is a
Mm-hmm.
different from purchase and refinance. Then there
Got
is
it.
construction to permanent, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a different. So we are going to discuss all these purposes later. But
Okay.
as of now, it is enough. Otherwise, we are going to get you know.
I got it. My point was, in a way, the borrower is actually enjoying the money instead of personal loan. He's making use of the home loans interest rate, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now we know what are the loan purpose or what is the refinance, and we also know what is the we also know what is the loan purposes, different loan purposes, right? Okay. Now let's come back to the dry funding and wet funding. So taking a loan on the existing property means government is government has a rule, federal rule, which states any any person, any borrower, if taking a loan, or I would say now, if someone is refinancing the primary residence. Now, what could be the different purpose? One could be the purchase. I can take a loan to purchase my primary property, right? I can take, so that is going to be purchase of primary residence. Then I can purchase a secondary residence. So that is going to be purchase of secondary residence. Third, I can purchase an investment property. Then, if it is a refinance purpose, I can refinance my primary residence, I can refinance my secondary residence, I can refinance my investment property. So there are going to be different properties which I can refinance or I can purchase, right? So don't get confused. Here we are only or specifically talking about the primary refinance, not primary purchase, not any other purchase. Neither we are talking about the investment or secondary home refinance. Only one specific scenario. What is the scenario? Primary residence, right? So according to the US government, according to the federal rule, which will be applied throughout the US, any borrower, if refinancing the primary residence, right? Once the loan is closed, funding will only will every time going to remain the dry funding. Means every loan that you are going to review, you are going to check what is the loan purpose, refinance, what type of occupancy, it's the primary residence. So somebody refinancing primary residence. Now you need to make sure that this rule is being complied. What means you need to check, right, what is the close date and what is the fund date, disbursement date. From where you can get, from your note you will get your closing date, right, and funding date, disbursement date, you can find it on the CD, closing disclosure. Now what is the rule? We need to make sure that note date and CD means in the CD, not CD. CD In the CD, there will be a disbursement date or funding date will be written. Funding date is this, closing date is this, right? So from CD, we always need to make sure that closing date and funding date should have a gap of 3 days at least. But in which case, only in the refinance primary residence. If you come across, okay, it's a primary residence but purchase, so this rule doesn't apply. If it's a refinance of investment or secondary home, this rule doesn't apply. Only the rule is primary residence. If the property is your primary residence, right, then this rule will apply. That closing and disbursement of the funds means closing and funding will never take place at the same day, will never happen on the same day. There should be 3 days gap. That is the only one single rule, one single line rule, 3 days gap. This gap is called, 3 days gap is called right of recession. ROR, that stands for right of recession. Okay, right of recession. What is this right of recession? So it happens like, whenever somebody I told once borrow close the deal means sign the note, they might realize, oh, this deal is wrong. But you realize this later after closing the deal that now you cannot do anything. So according to the government, right, since people many times realize after the making the promise, after signing the note, so a 3 days recession, right to recession or right of recession, right, or plus right to cancel, RTC, right to cancel, right to cancel. These are the two rules those apply whenever somebody refinance their primary residence. Because if even somebody did a mistake and they realize after closing the loan that their family are not very much supportive, or they feel guilty that they should not have gone for this loan, they, according to the government, anyone is applying for a loan on their primary residence, means refinancing their primary residence, they should get this 3 days right of recession, means they should get a recess, free time to think again. And if within these 3 days they realize that no, they don't want to go for a loan, then they have the right to cancel. They can cancel this loan within 3 days, means there will be a document, one-pager document, which will be given to them at the time of closing. Whenever they're going to sign, they will get this right to cancel, right? If they will not get, then they might have received it before, but then they will be, facilitated, they will be informed by the closer attorney that you have right to cancel. This is the one document. If within these 3 days, if you realize that this deal is not good, you still have right to cancel this deal. What you need to do, just add your name. I mean, it's a one-pager document. People who have worked in the post-closing, they might have seen this. This is the one document, right to cancel. Borrower will just sign this document and will send back to the lender within 3 days of closing. And lender has no right to call him back and ask that why you don't want to go for the loan. Means lender cannot call back, loan officer cannot call back, attorney cannot call back that you cannot, you have already made the promise, now you are denying. They don't have this right. Only the borrower who is refinancing their primary residence, they have only this right that they can go back, they can write, sign this document and send back to the lender, and lender has no right to call back to the borrower that, okay, why did you cancel the, because borrower has this right. But lenders and all other, parties who belongs to this loan, they have no right to call back to borrower. They cannot call borrower and ask for the reason. its borrower will, if he or she doesn't want to move with this loan, they can just sign this document and it will be done. They cannot call back, because this loan is actually not just the responsibility, or only does not belong only to borrower who is taking the loan. His or her family are also surviving in that home. So that home, one home belongs to many lives, right? So according to the government, this has been the 3 days period. Even after signing the note, this has been the period which is mandatory, given to borrower to rethink, and if you come across and going to make the decision to cancel, you can cancel, because this property belongs to the entire family, right? But on the other hand, any other property where borrower is applying refinance or purchasing, if somebody is purchasing a refinance, somebody is purchasing primary property, right? Then this rule doesn't apply there. It can be wet funding, it can be closed and funded on the same day. Because if let's say you are purchasing a primary residence, is it a good thing or bad thing? Is there any risk? No, right? It's a good thing. Your family will be happy. Oh, we are purchasing a home where we are going to live now. If you are purchasing an investment, obviously your family will be happy, because you are going to invest into income, you are going to earn money. If you are going to buy a second home, obviously that will also be a happy moment for your family. If you are refinancing secondary home, or if you are refinancing investment property, it isn't much riskier to your family, because they're okay, it's a business, you can do it. But as soon as you are going to take a loan on your existing property, it is, everyone is going to think again, oh, now the property in which we are living, there is a lien on this property, there is a loan going on this property. Does that make sense? Why this rule only apply on the primary residence? Will you be able to remember this? Very good. Okay. Now the dry funding and wet funding. So dry funding means after 3 days. This is the first rule. Every refinance of primary will always be happening in the dry funding, right? Now, in the US, there are two types of states in the case of funding. Some states are dry funding, some states are wet funding, and some states